Welcome to the Explainer. We've all been there, right? A brilliant new initiative is rolled out and immediately it hits a wall of resistance. The standard explanation is, oh, people just fear change. But what if that's not the whole story? What if that resistance is actually a crucial signal we should be paying attention to?
All right, let's start with the story we all know. The classic take on why people push back when things are about to get shaken up.
So why do we resist change? The easy answer, the one we hear all the time, is that we're just creatures of habit. We're wired to stick with what's comfortable and known. But is it really that simple?
We're told it's all about these usual suspects. Fear of failure, losing control, maybe your job feels threatened. Or maybe you're just overloaded with work already and can't handle one more thing. These are all real feelings, for sure. But notice how they all place the problem squarely on the individual.
But what if the data points to a completely different culprit? A story that isn't about individual psychology at all, but about the health of the entire system.
So, a poll of over 400 people across 58 countries turned up something really fascinating. It's represented by this number. Now, I know plus 0.0972 might not look like much, but trust me, it's a huge clue that unlocks this whole thing.
So here's what that number means. It shows a direct, positive link between people who blame mismanagement for resistance and those who hold a worldview that's all about the health of the whole system. To put it simply, the more you see the big picture, the more likely you are to say, hey, the problem isn't the people, it's the leadership.
Okay, so that obviously begs the question, what exactly is this systems thinking perspective, and how does it completely reframe our understanding of resistance?
This worldview, sometimes called the Turquoise vMEME, is all about seeing everything, your company, your community, even the planet, as one big, interconnected system. The priority here isn't short-term wins for one department. It's the long-term health and survival of the whole shebang.
And when you look at it from that perspective, resistance isn't just irrational fear anymore. It's an intelligent response. People aren't rejecting change just for the sake of it. They're rejecting change that feels chaotic, that seems like it's just serving someone's ego, or that's just plain bad for the organization. Resistance becomes feedback. And the data totally backs this up. There's that positive correlation with mismanagement, right? But look at this, a negative correlation with perceived threat. This tells us that people with this systems thinking mindset are way less likely to chalk up resistance to fear. For them, it's a flashing neon sign that there's a problem with the system, not the people in it.
And listen, this isn't just some abstract theory. We've seen this play out in the real world, in some incredibly high-profile cases.
Remember Theranos? The employees who blew the whistle weren't afraid of innovation. Of course not. Their resistance was an ethical, intelligent, and frankly, brave response to systemic fraud and scientific mismanagement. They were trying to protect the integrity of the whole system. We saw the exact same pattern at Boeing. In 2024, an FAA audit found the company failed 33 out of 89 safety checks. The internal resistance from engineers wasn't about being scared of progress, it was a desperate warning that management was prioritizing speed over safety.
This shows the stark contrast between mismanagement and what the source calls regenerative alignment. Think about Patagonia's decision to dedicate its profits to fighting climate change. That change was embraced. Why? Because it was deeply aligned with the company's core values and the health of the planet. It wasn't forced, it just made sense.
But of course, it's never quite that black and white. To really get this, we have to take an honest look at the complexity of it all. Look, it's not just mismanagement. There are absolutely other valid reasons for resistance. People have legitimate fears about losing their jobs. Maybe they're skeptical because the last 3 big changes were total disasters. Or maybe they just genuinely disagree with the new direction. All of that is real and important.
And even this holistic perspective has its own blind spots. There's a real risk of just labeling any change you don't like as mismanagement. And we have to remember, not everyone feels safe enough to speak up and critique leadership. The goal shouldn't just be to criticize, but to find a better, more constructive path forward.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? How can this different perspective actually change the way we handle resistance when we see it?
Here's the bottom line. The next time you face resistance, try not to see it as just an obstacle to be bulldozed. See it as data. See it as feedback. It might just be the most important warning sign you get, that your great idea isn't actually a great fit for the system you're trying to change.
And that leaves us with a final, really powerful question to chew on. Is resistance always fear, or can it actually be a form of wisdom?
It's a challenge to all of us to listen more deeply to dissent and to ask ourselves if the changes we're pushing are serving our own egos or if they're serving the entire ecosystem.